Is that the way?
Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gael and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael and Bob.
Hi, Bob. Welcome back. You've been gone for so long. So long.
It takes a long time to get up Machu Picchu.
Oh, is that where you've been?
Yeah, Easter Island.
Oh, really? I thought you were out doing the hogs. Out back. That's what my father used to say. When my father would answer the phone. Now, remember, we're talking.
He's in New York, right?
Yeah, no, right now he's been planted. He's gone. But when we were kids.
Planted?
Yeah. Well, it's been a while. When we were kids, we had the phone on the kitchen wall. Okay, that's how old I am. It was on the kitchen wall.
Wow, it's before my time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're a lot older than I am, and we both know that one. But he would answer the phone, and he would say, they would ask, is Gael there? And they would say, no, she's out back playing with the hogs, feeding the hogs. And I was like, Pop, that's my friends that you're talking to. He said, oh no, she's that would be the standard answer he would give.
Well, I've done that too.
I've never done that. I lived in suburbia New York. I didn't even know what hogs were. I mean, they were just pigs for bacon.
I could tell you a story, but it's a long one.
All right, never mind.
But
if
I told you the truth, you'd think I was old. So I'm not going to tell you the truth.
Oh, come on, tell us the truth.
Sciatica and my dizziness and everything else. But
you're above ground.
It was a long hike up Machu Picchu.
And you're above ground.
Yes, I am.
So
you know what?
What?
We have a marvelous guest today.
Marvelous.
Marvelous.
Absolutely marvelous?
Yep. Because she is so successful. Ellen Hopkins is a poet, former freelance journalist, and the award-winning author of 20 nonfiction books for children, 4 novels for adult readers, 2 middle grade novels in verse, and 14 New York Times bestselling young adult verse novels. Sink, which is her latest, which releases August the 27th, is her 15th YA. After 6 decades in the West, Ellen moved with her extended family to 5 acres of Missouri woods near Cape Girardeau. Ellen currently holds the unenviable, or it might be enviable, title.
Yeah, could be.
Most banned author in America.
Woohoo! Wow.
Welcome, Ellen.
Yay!
So, tell us how you got the title of the most banned author.
I've been a bad girl. It's been a couple of year movement now with some pretty heavy book banning in certain states. Missouri's included, but they're way behind Texas and Florida, which are leading the charge.
I was going to say Florida's ahead of everybody.
Yeah. Florida started it, but Texas, we got to catch up,
Yeah.
But so it's my young adult books, and I write tough subject matter for for teenagers, right? And so some people, that tough subject matter I write, it's upsetting to them, and so they don't want my books to be where kids can get hold of them. Even though
Well, that's
I write
rather
them-
narrow-minded, isn't it?
I write them because kids need them. That's
Yeah.
why I'm doing it. Right.
Exactly. Okay. So what does it mean to you being banned in Texas, Florida, and Missouri?
How does that make you
Um,
feel? I mean,
It's disheartening because, like I said, I've spent, first of all, I've raised 3 generations of young people. I still have a 15-year-old grandson at home that we're raising full time. So I've been around teenagers for a number of years. I know the things that are happening in their lives. I know the problems they face every single day. And what I can do is I can bring a lot a lot of perspective. I said 6 decades in the West, so we got at least 60 years here of perspective that I can bring into a space where kids are looking for answers to questions that they have about themselves, about friends, about people they see, and don't
Mhm.
know.
mhm.
And so I can bring a wider perspective into this kind of narrow place that they live and give them, hopefully, my whole goal with writing these books is to help them make better choices so that they don't take some of the same pathways that even my own kids have taken. Because I'm not saying I was a perfect parent. I tried pretty hard, but I don't think any parents are perfect. We all make
There's-
mistakes.
There's no book
I know,
on
right?
how to be a good parent. There's no book. No,
I started
isn't.
young too. I was 20 when I had my first baby.
I'm not saying anything.
Well, you looked at me like there is no book.
Well,
I mean,
there's the good book.
yeah, and there's the bad book.
I must have followed that one when I was raising mine. Well,
When did you start writing?
Okay, so I've been writing since I knew how to figure out how to pick up a pencil. So, I mean, I really did. My mom was an avid reader, and she had me reading before kindergarten. She had me writing before kindergarten. So I've been writing since I was a little kid. Published my first poem, a haiku, when I was 9 years old. So I saw my
Whoa.
name in print at 9 years old, and I'm like, I'm a writer. I'm an author. I wasn't quite an author, but I thought
No, you were an author at 9 years old. Because if you were printed, you were an author at 9.
that's true.
It really
I
is
did
true.
take a big detour, like in my early 20s when I was raising that first batch of kids. I had my own businesses at that point, so I had a video store just as video was becoming kind of a big thing.
Uh-huh.
And actually, that's how I met my husband. He sold me radio advertisement at my video store. And when we got together, we decided we were both coming off bad relationships. We decided to move up to Lake Tahoe, which we both spent time at as kids.
that's a beautiful
It
spot.
is, loved it. And at that point, so I had sold my businesses. I had a little money coming in, and I said, okay, I'm a writer. And my husband's like, you're a what? Because I had drawers of yellow legal pads with stuff.
You
I'd
didn't
been
want to
writing.
tell him ahead of time, did
And
you?
I didn't want to scare him away.
Yeah. You definitely didn't want to scare him away.
No, but then I went into freelance writing at that point. So freelance journalism writing. So that's for people not in the know. Freelance means you write for different newspapers and magazines. Whoever
Mhm.
will pay you. At the first, it's a pittance, but then you kind of build up your bio and your reputation, and then you start making a little more money and a little more money. And
So how does your background in journalism influence your writing?
it's great for the research end of it, for sure. The problem with that is when you're writing fiction and you start researching, sometimes your writing is put on hold because you go deep diving down these wells of
Rabbit
research.
holes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the research end of it because
What kind of journalism did you write? I mean, what kind of things did you write?
mostly I did a lot of food and wine writing, so it was fun because then you get to eat free at all the best restaurants.
Cool.
It was fun, and then we were skiing, so I did ski stuff. I did wedding stuff, and then there were other ones that were more in depth. So I worked with a guy who was researching killer whales off the Puget Sound, right? And so when I did an article about him, it became interesting to me to write, because I was raising kids, as a nonfiction book for kids. So that was my way into nonfiction, was through my journalism. Some of the articles I wrote ended up becoming nonfiction books for kids.
Our listeners would be interested in understanding, how you go about your typical writer's day. In other words, do you have a routine that you normally follow?
I had a specific routine for years and years. And then, remember a couple of years ago when this thing called COVID hit?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I kind of ended up being the homeschool teacher for some grandkids. But up until that point, it was daily. I would be up. And I still am. I'm up very early. I'm up usually by 5. And then I do a lot of the kind of social media, answering emails, that kind of stuff, to then get the kids off to school, the one we have left now off to school. And then generally the house is pretty quiet then. I have to run the dogs because otherwise the house won't be quiet. But after that, I try to get in at least a few hours in the morning. It's been distracted because we moved. That was a move from Reno to Cape Girardeau. It was quite a move a year ago, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit. But I'm kind of kicking that back into gear now. That was quite a move, though.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. That would be a real big move.
we had 33 years in the same house. I know.
Wow.
Yeah, try downsizing 33
You kind of get
years.
used to the mountains, don't you?
Oh, that's one thing I really, really miss is the mountains. Because, that was our view, was the Sierra.
Well, I lived in Denver for a while, and yeah, you just see the Front Range all from Pikes Peak all the way
Yep.
to, yeah, it's something you do.
And we kind of like
miss.
the snow.
Yeah. What
But-
made you decide to move to Cape?
Well, my youngest daughter decided to move my grandkids to Tennessee. And so, what happened is we had our house up for sale. It didn't sell. All of a sudden, like, this guy came, the last day it was the listing was up. We were going to pull it off the market. This guy walked in. He offered us more than we were asking for it because his house had burnt down. He wanted it in right now. We had a month to go find a place that was near her in Tennessee. And she's in the northwestern corner. So we're about 2 hours from them now, which is better than, a 3 or 4 day drive.
So how do you balance realism and fiction in your writing?
So my books definitely are the contemporary YA, young adult. The young adult is very much issue based. So I need to write the truth. That's one thing that I've always been dedicated to, is making sure that everything I write in those books, even through fictionalized characters, is true to who teenagers are and to the things that they're experiencing. So, I guess part of me is stuck even yet in teenagerhood because, we've all had good and bad parts of that, right? But and just raising kids and watching what they're going through. So I know, and now, because my first YA published in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So over that 20-year time span,
What was that book?
Crank?
Crank.
Crank's my first novel, and it is among the
That
most
was a-
targeted.
That was a bestseller too.
It's
It's on the New York Times bestsellers
Oh,
list
yeah,
for
it's-
how long?
Took about 3 years for me because I was a nobody fiction writer.
Uh-huh.
But I built a big career through social media just as it was coming in. Like, MySpace was the only place you could do that. But I learned how to utilize that to be able to speak one-on-one with my readers.
Right.
So
That's an interesting thing that you say about, and it's part of one of the things I'm going to talk about later on the marketing tips, is you have to build that community.
You do.
And
And you have to do that if they come to you, you have to take the time to answer them.
Yes.
And it can get time
Cumbersome.
consuming. Yes.
cumbersome.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can get
Okay.
cumbersome. But how long was Crank on the New York Times list? You remember?
I don't remember, but and then it gets, it's back and forth. I mean, there are more than 2 million copies of that book in print around the world now.
Wow.
So that's
Well,
that's a big book.
I was curious about, you write in so many genres. how do you switch? I mean, you're writing adult
Mhm.
novels, you're writing middle grade, you're writing YA, you're writing.
The nonfiction. It actually keeps me interested, because I don't want to just get stuck in a rut. So when I write adult fiction, when I can tell you this, my adult fiction is much steamier than my young adult. So I do know a difference in audiences. You know what I'm saying
Okay.
here?
Okay.
There's a little hot stuff in there,
Well, that's fascinating. So have you got different audiences built up for each of those?
Well, a lot of my YA audience has followed me into the adult marketplace, and I'm still in touch with people all the time. They'll go, you know what? You talked to me when I was 13-year-old and freshman in high school, and I'm 30 now, or whatever. And so they stay with me because
You're not that old.
I'm pretty old.
Nah.
Only on the outside. Only on the outside.
I have that same feeling.
But it is interesting to have people that come to you. Like, I saw you talk 10 years ago at wherever, and you were so nice to me and so kind to me, and I've encouraged young writers who are now publishing. It's been a really gratifying career in a lot of different ways, for sure.
Well, that's an interesting topic that you bring up. Speaking. How did you promote and how did you get speaking engagements?
It became invitations after a while. So I would do maybe a librarians conference and people would see me speak, and then I engage an audience very well when I speak. And so then others would want me to come speak for their groups or whatever. And then I just developed a reputation through doing that. I've done school visits. When you're writing for kids, you do school visits, and they can be lucrative, but it's not. Generally, we go just to promote our books, and so a lot of times, like, I'll be going on tour with the book that's coming out in August. It's called Sink, and I'll be going on tour, and so my publisher, they'll set up with bookstores and like a signing at night, and then school visits during the day, and then you fly to another city, and then you do it all over again. They're exhausting. Book tours are exhausting, but especially when you're doing school visits involved as well, then you're speaking to big groups and sometimes smaller groups of kids. And it's like, I don't envy teachers, because teachers, I don't know how they do it. When I
taught for 39 years.
When I'm done talking to two groups of kids, I'm like, okay, nobody say anything to me for a few hours. Shh.
Yeah, no, I taught for 39 years. I taught in New York, I taught in Florida, and I taught in Missouri.
Is that the early stages of dementia?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Mad respect.
very much so.
That's mad respect for that.
I was an English teacher.
Well, that would be my favorite.
Yes.
I was never good with commas.
Neither was I.
Oh, I had one editor, she kept taking them out, and I had another editor, she'd put them back in. Copy edit would put them back in.
Who
I'm like,
is it?
"Whatever."
Somebody I just talked to, they have this thing about having a comma before and.
Well, but you can also
Oxford
take
comma.
that out.
Yes, you can,
Yes, you can.
but
And you can put it back
you
in.
can put it back in.
And sometimes
And
they
if you
make
look at
sense.
Grammarly and you look at Microsoft Editing, some of it puts in, some of it takes it out.
Right.
And there are rules around both. The biggest thing is you just maintain consistency. If you're consistent, then you're fine. If you're not consistent, that's when you have a problem.
There are times you can look at a sentence and go, you really need a comma there. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
And there's some people who over comma and there's some people who under comma.
Really?
Yes.
it's the over and under of commas.
I'm getting dizzy. I must be overcoming. All right.
So what role does your family play in your narrative?
Oh, I mean, so Crank, which is my first novel, that book was inspired
and the
by
other interesting thing about Crank, though, is that I need to pull out is that it's done in
verse.
verse,
Right. And
which is,
which
that
is
in
not
of
like writing
itself.
poetry. So don't be afraid of verse, because it's an interesting way to do narrative, because every word has to count. you're using a lot of sensory details and stuff that poetry does, so
Mhm.
that you can take one word and use it in place of a whole sentence sometimes.
Yes.
Not long descriptions, not big paragraphs of description. And the uptake of that is a lot of reluctant readers that are
Will like it.
yeah, they like it. And it reads sort of like music. It's musical
Mhm.
to them. So, and if you read it
That's
out loud,
interesting.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's very much like music, like
Mhm.
songs, lyrics.
And then getting back to how your family played into
Yeah,
that.
so that book was inspired by my daughter's story of meth addiction. So she was like straight A+ kid. We were a pretty solid middle class family, and she took a wrong turn, and her life, I mean, her dreams, she had big dreams. She A+ kid. She was going to go to the Art Institute of Seattle. That all dissolved because she took a wrong turn. And I knew I needed to write it for teens and not for those. I didn't want it to be a memoir. I wanted to try to get into her head
Mhm.
and write first person from her, in quotation marks, point of view, to understand the role I played in, or didn't play, what I might have missed, or what I didn't see, whatever. But her dreams were gone for over 25 years.
And that-
She's doing well now, but it took more than 25 years.
And that must have been the hardest part, is to recognize the role that you did or did not play.
It was. I mean, if you read the book, the mother I'm not putting myself out there as being any kind of martyr or hero at all. The mother is not like that. She's not.
It's interesting. I have the same issue with my middle child,
Hmm.
my daughter, and she's finally pulled out of it, but it was a long haul.
Was. And for her, it was, she would go, there were long periods of sobriety and then sobriety and relapse. And, it just, I just really didn't want kids to go there. And, meth is such the addiction value of that drug it's huge. It's so hard to stop once you get into that space, and you really need to, and you need help. And if I could just help kids not go there, or help kids get out of that space, or understand their own parents' addiction. There are a lot of kids that came to me because I gave them that insight into like, why did my mom leave me? Why
Mhm.
did this happen to me?
Mhm.
And they just need to know that the choice isn't always the addict's. It becomes the choice of the drug after a while.
Mhm. How do you maintain the authenticity in your characters?
I mean, my pre-write is all character building. I'll spend weeks building characters before, and I'm not a plotter.
So when you create your stories, is it organic, or do you create an outline?
No, very much organic. I mean, I'll know certain things that have to happen, but I don't know, I don't put them like it has to be at the end of the third act or the second
Right.
actor. I don't do that. And I let my characters talk to me. I mean, they sometimes wake me up. You forgot to write, and be like, shh, it's 4 a.m. Shut up. And they don't shut up. So I just get up and yeah. But I spend a lot of time. I know who they are. And, everything, when you create a character that in depth, everything doesn't always end up on the page, but you have to know their motivations.
You have to know their backstory.
Yeah. You have to know why they're doing the things they're doing. And that inner conflict is as every bit as important to me as
Mhm.
exterior conflict.
What inspires your poetic exploration of the young adult themes?
Like I said, I think I love making it flow, So, and the interesting thing about it is so if you read it, the title of the next of a poem is the next line from the page before. So it flows through just like reading fiction, pretty much.
Mhm.
Only it's more like a waterfall to me. It's like flows like that. So hopefully by the end we're
Does
going
it go
downhill.
Downhill? Yeah. Always downhill.
Yeah, that's the way we want to go. Downstream flow.
Downstream flow.
All right.
Downstream into the ocean we go.
Yeah, right.
Why do you choose verse novels as your medium?
I just think it's impactful. And if some of them, if you look at the way there's word placement, there's interesting word placement on the page as well. So I wanted the visual interest for people that don't read that well. I wanted them to look at the page and be drawn to see, like there are places when Christina's using in Crank that the words scatter across the page and nothing's cohesive. And then when she gets clean for a little bit, then everything comes back together again. So I'm using, there's a visual as well as the part that's inside your head that your ear is telling you. It's your eyes are telling you things as well.
Okay. Is the writing process the same as writing in prose?
Pretty much. I mean, it wasn't at first. At first, there was a lot more editing. Now my editing comes pretty naturally because I've done it enough. So I know when something's getting too short, getting too long, and I can tell within like 2 pages if I've taken a wrong turn and something doesn't need to be there. So it's practice, a lot of practice.
We're going to take a short break and we're going to go to commercial. And then after that, you're going to do something called marketing tidbits.
Oh, yes, I
Yes.
am.
Yes, you are.
All right.
You've remembered.
Yes, I'm here.
That's right.
All right.
Let's go to our commercial break.
Oh, I thought this was...
Da, 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 da. Are we ready for the commercial?
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
The United States has a strong tradition of welcoming newcomers and refugees. The Welcome Corps is a new service opportunity for Americans inspired to welcome those seeking freedom and safety and in turn help strengthen their own communities. Welcome Corps is a public-private partnership that is inspired by what Americans represent to so many around the world, a beacon of hope and refuge. All it takes is a helping hand. Are you ready to learn more? Contact the International Institute of St. Louis at info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. That's info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment, also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page.
Bye. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I do.
What do you want to say?
Well, I'm going to tell everybody that you're listening to the Author's Edge with Guy L. Freer and Bobby Price.
Oh, it's Bobby now?
That's what they call me down in Arkansas.
Aw,
Yeah.
you are so precious.
Coming to you weekly on Saturday at 10 a.m. on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM. And Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. You can also view our latest videos of past shows at authorsedge.com. It's authors-edge.com. Online and download valuable information on marketing and publishing.
Now,
And
you're going to give us marketing tidbits, but I have a question. Are you ready for the question?
I'm ready. I'm bracing myself.
Have you updated our website?
No,
Okay.
but I'm going to.
Okay. Just
All right.
it was just a question.
She's just getting me. for not doing my job. But
Okay.
my
Okay,
marketing
continue.
tidbit was 3 top ways to maximize ebook sales. So the top ways that you can really do ebook. I mean, once I've started getting into the ebook industry, I guess. And you want to write clean, clear descriptions, craft crisp, straightforward descriptions that hook readers instantly. Avoid flowery language and get straight to the point. Highlight what makes your ebook unique and why readers should care. Think sharp, punchy sentences that leave a lasting impression. And you want to price it right. Sell smart. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate pricing. Offer occasional discounts and bundle deals to reel in readers. Keep an eye on the competition, but focus on the ebook value. Make it easy for readers to say yes with straightforward pricing strategies. It's really important about the making it easy to purchase. And so you can do it 2 ways, really through Amazon, but you can make more money doing it on your own platform. So there's another thing. But connect, engage, and sell. Build connections that matter. Engage with readers on social media, respond to comments, and show you care. Share snippets, ask questions, and create buzz. Make your ebook feel like a friend, not just a purchase. Keep it simple, keep it real, and watch those sales soar.
One of the big things that you mentioned, is making sure that you respond to your readers, because that's how you create your community, is making sure you respond to each and every one of your readers.
Well, there were a couple of things I ran across lately. One was newsletters
Yes.
are really effective
Yes.
and building your readership.
Right. Building those emails.
That's right. And the other is Amazon isn't always the answer.
No, it's not. But
And
it is a good place to start.
it's a good place to start, but I'll give you, we're going to go through it later on in another show. And I'll give you some hints and tips and
Oh, yeah? Really?
on how to do that.
Is that a promise?
It's a promise.
Oh, I love men with promises. All I can tell you. Okay. But
Ralph, you're just something else.
however, we're going to get back to Ellen. Now, she sent me a part of the book Sync, right?
Right.
And this is the book. Now, if I'm not mistaken, today you're doing a book signing. You're launching the book today.
Not today, August 27th, but I am launching with Main Street Books, which is here. It's a suburb here at the Spencer Road Branch Library, August 27th, 7 p.m. That'll be the first time this book is out in public.
Okay. What could you say that again for us?
August 27th, 7 p.m. at the Spencer Road Branch Library.
Okay.
And Main Street Books will be there selling books, and I'll be there signing books and talking.
Okay. Now, are you doing anything today?
Not today.
Oh no,
I'm doing this.
just this is today.
Well, and then
No,
my
no.
You mean
we-
you're confused. Is that right, Gail?
I am never confused.
Oh,
she's not now. We got that.
Are you kidding me? Me confused?
No.
Really?
Ah.
We should also probably spell this title for everybody. It's SYNC, which is short for synchronicity. Really.
Okay. Is short for what?
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Okay. And why synchronicity?
Because it's because of the relationship of the two main characters in the book.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is right out from the book. Some people are born marked by fate, time stamped by destinies beyond their control. Life never offered me many choices. I've been prodded toward trouble by people I've known and by total strangers. My only decisions seemed to be high-low. I was willing to go and whether to take someone with me. Tell us about this.
So Sync is about twins separated by the foster care system.
Oh,
So they're fraternal twins, Storm and Lake, and they're pulled from their mother's abusive mother's care when they're 10 years old. And at first they're placed together, and they were really tight. They had sync because they only had each other basically when they were little kids. And so at first they're placed together, but then one of the foster parents decides that they should be separated, and so they lose track of each other for a number of years. So it's really their lives during that time, how they try to find their way back to each other, how they find each other and lose each other again, and then at the end we'll see what happens.
why did the foster parent decide that they should be separated?
Because they were so close, she decided there was something weird going on between them, which there wasn't. She thought it was an inappropriate relationship, and it wasn't.
Okay. So I lost my train of thought for a moment there.
Well, let me ask you what were the themes that this work that you just completed? What are the themes of this?
It's despair. It's finding hope through the despair, basically. I don't like doing spoilers, but there are parts of this book that I've been wanting to write for a long time. So I love the way the book ends. I'll tell you that, but I'm not going to tell you how it ends.
Oh, of course not. No spoilers here.
Right. But I also, like, over the years, I've had a chance to work with kids who are with aged out foster kids, with kids in the juvenile justice system. Like, I've done a lot of juvenile detention center visits, talked to kids who've been, so Storm ends up, because of his, anger issues and whatever, he ends up in juvenile detention, in and out.
Okay.
And Lake ends up running away from a foster and being homeless on the street for a while. So it's basically, we're exploring a lot of things that young people go through that are hard things that they go through.
So a lot of the stories that you do write are based on things that you've learned about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stories, like the maze of placements that these kids go through, the kids that I worked with in foster have told me these stories. So these are all inspired by real people stories, real stories. Most of my books are inspired by real stories somewhere.
Oh, is that right?
They're not all my family stories or whatever.
I was curious to know how you found these topics that
Right.
you discussed.
And a lot of them are readers that come to me. They're reader stories. And if more than one reader comes to me and says, what you need to look at writing about, then I will look at if it's
Wow.
something that needs to be explored, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What inspired your latest literary work? What really got you motivated for this?
Well, I guess so. A few years back, before we left Reno, we actually had a nonprofit that helped kids off the street and into safe housing and college, and a lot of them were aged out foster kids. So I see so much potential that is often just turned off. You know what I mean? Because there's no resources available for them. There's no way for them to realize the potential that I saw in them. So over the years that we had the nonprofit, we helped 30 kids off the street, and some of them ended up back doing bad things or back on the street or whatever, because it's hard for foster kids or kids that have been pushed away forever and ever to accept help for a lot of them. So they would like just take advantage as they could, and then they'd leave. But we also had success stories. We have one who's a respiratory therapist now. We have one he's an editor, and we have one who does graphic novels. So, all these success stories to me could be other success stories if we can just get people to understand that the foster care system has problems and they need fixed, but there's
Lots of good stories.
good stuff there, and if
Yes.
people can just have some kind of sympathy and empathy. And one thing I will say with all my books, I've always tried to develop empathy in readers who are not going through the things that my characters go through. I want some understanding of the why or the how they could help, or empathy.
Okay, so can you describe the relationship that you have with your readers?
It's pretty close. It is. Like I said, I've had them follow me for years. Some of them, like, they call me, like, I have the ones that they're like, you're the mom I wish I would have had. And they're more than one of those. I mean, and they're, we're so tight. Like, the people that actually follow me on Facebook are almost all readers or ex-readers. Not ex-readers. Readers are older readers that will come through. So they might not be reading my middle grade novels now, but they're still with me.
They're still with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are giving my books to their kids.
Giving them, well,
Yeah.
your subject matters are timeless.
Yeah.
I mean, Crank is timeless,
Right.
without a doubt.
What do you hope that readers take away from your message?
That every choice you make there's going to be an outcome to every choice you make. So if you can consider possible outcomes before you make those choices, it might help you make the better choice. And also that even if you make the bad choices, even if you find yourself in a bad space, there's always light at the far end. There's always hope. There's always something to work toward, to pull yourself toward, to get yourself up and out.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important that people today everything is so divisive today, and
Mhm.
it's like, it's kind of painful to watch people who could be friends who, for whatever stupid political reasons or whatever, have decided they can't be. We have to get back to, like, remembering that we're more alike as people than we're not alike. That
Mhm.
inside, all of us want love, and we want to love, and we want to be loved, right? That's pretty basic stuff.
We've forgotten that, haven't we?
We have
Yeah,
forgotten
we
it.
have. Yes, we have. Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you handle criticism of your work? Now, I think it may, almost in a way, it goes back to the band, but also, just in general, your criticisms.
Not everybody's going to like everything that anybody writes, so it's everything's subjective. And I've gotten over taking things personally for the most part.
Mhm.
I would say during the book banning stuff, I've been called some kind of terrible things, and that I take personally,
But
because
they're all in Florida, right?
most of them,
Some of them are in Texas.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm really not a bad person. I'm really not a bad person.
You're not a bad person at all.
No, and my goal has always been on the positive side of things, so I to be accused of negative things, it can be hurtful, it can be painful, but I still have to keep following my heart,
But you choose dark subjects.
because somebody has to write about them. Somebody does.
It's true.
That's
It's true.
very true.
They need to be aware.
They need exposure. We need to understand what,
We can't leave our heads in the sand.
no.
They exist.
And books are not going to lead kids in a bad direction. Books are going to help kids get away from it. That's the thing that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, kids today,
Books don't lead you away from the bad. Books don't lead you into bad.
I was wondering how you found any sand in Brooklyn.
Now, I wasn't in Brooklyn. I was on Long Island.
Oh, Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island.
oh, there it comes. I was
Yeah.
wondering what.
Yeah.
Long
Yeah.
Island.
Should push that away for a little bit.
Can you pinpoint a favorite character or describe a character that you've created?
There are some, and some of them are peripheral characters. Like not even main characters. So, like,
Is that like a half a character?
kind of. So
Really?
So like in one of my middle grades, What About Will? It's about a younger brother whose older brother has a traumatic brain injury, and through that he gets kind of hooked on painkillers, and the younger brother doesn't want to. His parents are already fractured because of the brain injury, and he
Mhm.
doesn't want to tell them because he's afraid it's going to drive them totally apart. But the next door neighbor is like the coolest old guy. He's like the coolest guy, and the kid, like, he does yard work for him. At first he thinks he's just a big pain, and then the guy, he just starts talking to him, and then he takes him for a ride in his classic Corvette.
Ooh. No.
And so when everything comes down to it and there's a real crisis, the guy next door is the one that kind of helps the kid get through that crisis. And just I like characters that mean something to the main characters, you know?
Good support.
Yeah. But without being overbearing or, you know.
Right. Right.
Do you go into great detail? Do you write your characters out beforehand?
I do.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time with that. A lot of time. So like I said, it doesn't always end up on the page, but I know more about them than they probably know about themselves, which I guess is my job.
Yeah. Yeah. How important is symbolism in your writing?
I think it's more, that's instinctive for me. You know, I mean, I don't go looking to include symbolism,
Mhm.
but it happens, you know. And I think that the more you write, the more instinctive all those things, theme, that stuff just becomes something that it comes to you without you really thinking about it.
Mhm.
It's practice. It's just doing it over and over and learning what works for you too, because every writer doesn't write the same way.
No, they do not.
You know, like people call them like, what is it, pantsers and plotters, right?
Mhm.
See, I prefer plotters are architects.
Right.
Pantsers, which is what I am, are gardeners. We plant seeds and we wait to see what pops up.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I understand.
No, I
fully.
do. I do. You have, the organic writer that just kind of puts it down, and then the story develops as they're going. Okay. The plotter is the one that says, this is what's going to happen in the first chapter. This is what's going to happen in the second chapter. This is what's going to happen in the third
Yeah.
chapter. Some people do it. I would probably be a plotter. Look, I have a script in front of you. I mean, I tend to be,
Oh, do we have to tell everybody?
no, we don't have to tell everybody.
Oh,
Forget that.
But
Forget
you're
that.
only following it a little bit because the rest of it's all around, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely. What I do is I make sure that we have something
Absolutely.
to discuss.
so you're not going to just sit here and not say anything,
Right.
Makes sense.
So,
My plotting is yellow sticky notes. Like, so I'll be writing along and then I'll go, okay, you know what? This has to happen by this. So I just do a yellow sticky note and I'll stick it on the edge of my computer, and then I'll remember
Right.
that I need to
right.
accomplish that.
So, I would be somebody that would be writing, that would say, okay, in chapter 1, these are the things that need to happen. In that chapter 2, these are the things that would be me. All right. My husband, who also writes, he doesn't write like, he's more organic. He just keeps writing. He just,
I traded a cow for some beans, and this plant just grew right up to the flowers.
See,
A voice
a man
A
after
voice.
my own heart.
yeah,
from out above.
from above, a voice
Yes.
from above.
A voice from above.
Right. But but I understand exactly what you're saying. I really do. All right. So what themes do you find yourself revisiting often in your work?
I mean, there's friendship, first love, obviously that's a big one for teens. Identity, figuring out who you are, which is really like middle grade is a lot about figuring out who you are within your family.
Mm-hmm.
Young adult is about figuring out who you are once you step outside the door, and so it's learning the right directions to
Child
go.
development.
Right, it's definitely about figuring out who I'm going to be as an adult instead of who I am as a kid. That's pretty much the difference.
All right. You are listening to The Author's Edge with Gael Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Saturdays at 10
Bobby
a.m.
Price.
Not Bobby?
Bobby.
Bobby. On KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. You can also view our latest videos of past shows at authors-edge.com online. He's going to update that soon, and download valuable information on marketing and publishing and writing tips. 5 things to remember about writing for real life experiences.
Real life?
real life, as opposed to fake life.
Oh, this is virtual. I thought it was virtual life.
No, it's real.
Oh, okay.
Okay. 1, emotional truth. Okay. Capture the emotional essence of the experience. Convey feelings and thoughts and reactions that accompany them. Authentic emotions resonate with readers and make writing relatable. People know fake emotions. They know when you are being, as a writer, they know when you are being fake.
Is this emotional intelligence?
No, it's not emotional intelligence. We're talking about real emotions.
Oh,
Okay? Specific and detail. Use specific details to bring your experience to life. Paint a vivid picture with sensory details, dialogue, and specific imagery. This grounds your writing in reality and makes it more engaging. Honesty and authenticity. Be honest about your experiences, including both the good and the bad. Authenticity builds trust with your audience and allows them to connect with your story on a deeper level. Don't be afraid to explore vulnerabilities. It often strengthens your narrative. It gives the real emotion when you explore vulnerabilities. Reflection and insight, making sure that you reflect on the meaning and significance of your experiences. What did you learn? How did the experience shape you? Incorporating reflection and adds depth to your writing and allows the readers to glean insights from your experiences that they can apply to their own lives. And universal themes. While your experiences are unique to you, they likely touch on universal themes that resonate with a broader audience, whether it's love, loss, resilience, or personal growth. Connecting your experience to those universal themes helps make your writing more relatable and impactful. And that all goes back to what Ellen was talking about with all of her books, Crank, Sink, and the other books. What are some of the other books that you wrote?
So I looked at gun violence and People Kill People. I looked at teen suicide and Impulse. That book, by the way, has probably overall helped the majority of kids because there's so many kids, especially today. I don't know if you've looked at recent statistics, but a lot of teens are considering or have considered suicide, especially young women today, it's interesting. They're looking at social media and phones and stuff as part of
as a big piece of that puzzle.
Being a piece of that puzzle for sure. And COVID was part of it as well.
Mhm.
But to understand the why, that's what I want to understand the why. I chose that book because a friend of mine lost her 16-year-old son to suicide. And so then me as the writer, I needed to know what would bring a 16-year-old to the place where they thought there was no tomorrow.
Yes.
So, and again, you have to look at all that stuff. Honestly, you have to, and there are 3 characters, all different reasons. You have to think about what would bring a young person into that space. And their lives connect in a psych hospital. And it's about the friendship that forms and whether or not that's enough to get them
Through it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So what's next on your writing agenda?
I'm going back. I'm doing another middle grade right now.
And
this one's about, because I was adopted and we've adopted, my husband and I have adopted. And so I wanted to write, because I know that young person that's looking for their identity, if they don't even know who their parents are, how do you find that identity? How do you decide? So it's about a girl who's decided she's always been this great kid, good kid. And she's like, well, maybe I was supposed to be the bad girl. So she's gonna go try on bad for a while and see if that
how
works.
it fits?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the best thing about being a best-selling author?
You can set your own hours. You can travel. I love travel. It's starting to pick up again post lockdown, and that's nice. I've been able to travel actually even internationally. I've been invited to speak internationally.
To what places?
Amsterdam, Germany, Italy,
France?
I haven't been to France, but I have been to Poland. I've been through the Eastern Bloc a little, Czechoslovakia, and so it's fun.
Fascinating.
It is.
Oh,
Can't forget
Australia.
That's our favorite, actually, Australia.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's from here. It's quite a trip. It's 14 hours from LA, so from here
Yeah.
it's a trip. And if you're gonna go for at least 2 weeks, because it's a continent. It's not just a country, right? So you have
Yes.
to see.
You have to
parts
see a
of it.
lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we loved it down there. And but to be able to do that, to get paid or at least travel paid, part of it paid, that's just fun. It's fun. And I love being out talking to my readers, to kids. I love school visit part of it. I just love the interaction with my readers.
Is there a downside?
It's exhausting. It's like, okay, I'm home. Shh, just leave me alone for a while.
Give me a week, huh?
And the downside is too, when you work for yourself, you have to worry about, make sure you,
Make enough money for it.
yeah, you have to make enough money. You have to make sure you budget correctly. You have to make sure, your taxes are paid. You have to do all those. And that's, as a writer, that's not, I can do math, but I don't want to do math if I don't have to.
Do you write when you're on your trip?
I do. My favorite, on the Australia trip, one of them, we had a ferry off to an offshore island, and the ferry's like boom, ba-boom, 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 and everybody's out back throwing up, and I'm up in the front of my laptop going, this is great.
The king of the world.
But you couldn't read it when you got finished.
What did that say?
Oh my goodness gracious.
What challenges have you faced in your writing career?
Just the first part. Actually, I can't say that the getting Crank published was hard. It actually wasn't not that hard, because I sat down at a writers conference with an editor from Simon & Schuster, showed her 10 pages. She goes, send that to me when it's done. And a couple months later, I had 75 pages written. I asked if she'd like an exclusive first look. I cheated a little. I said, there's been a lot of interest in this book. And there was just from my family, not from friends, not from publishers or anything. But so would you like an exclusive look? She said, yes. I sent her 75 pages. They sent me a contract to finish the book.
Wow.
So
That
How
is
important are book reviews for your promotions?
they're very important. So, it's great if you guys can offer good reviews.
good reviews.
Good reviews.
That's the key.
Right? But book reviews for sure. And again, and that's.
Do you have a goal whenever you list a book, or it's ready to go? And
Most of that stuff now is coming from my publisher, so the publicity end of it all comes from them. Mostly only I do the work. They tell me what to do. I do the work. And it's time consuming. And that again, that's one of the hard parts, is that self-promotion, because writers, we're like two people, we're the ones that just want to sit behind our computers and never talk to anybody. And then we're the ones that have to be out there going, hey, come on down,
Right.
So there's that shift in personality can be difficult too.
Okay. Last question. How can readers contact you?
Okay, so my website is ellenhopkinsbooks.com. You can get all my social media stuff is there on my website, and it's easy, and it's pretty much updated at this point.
See?
Was- Was you
Hers?
directing that at me?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Hers is updated. I'm just saying. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ellen Hopkins' website is updated. Thank you for tuning in to Author's Edge. Tune in again next week for more tips, resources, and your favorite conversations. Our next guest will be Chelsea Tornetto, and we will be chatting about her book, Gardens Are for Growing. Till then, see you around the inkwell.